Kia ora te whānau, welcome back to another episode. We're here again with Rochelle and we're going to be talking about insurance again, car, contents, home.
Yeah, bit of pet, bit of travel.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
all of the important things. So welcome back to this episode. Did you want to talk about what these include and the different things that we should think about when we're thinking about those insurances? I know for myself, out of those, I have car and contents insurance, but no pets. I don't have any pets.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to learn more about those.
Yeah, cool. So I'm going to preface this conversation in saying I do not do any of this. And any of what I say is obviously general information and not advice, but please don't come to me for your travel insurance or your pet insurance or, that type of stuff. Obviously been in the industry, been in banking for a long time, all of that stuff. I have knowledge and experience with it. So I thought it was a good place for us to help educate and just give some hints and tips over it, because often I get asked about it doing the other stuff, the other insurances that I do. So to start with, these types of insurances are called general insurance or fire in general. You might hear them called by the industry. Why it's called general is that as a general side of, you just don't need advice for it, like it's not something that's like super difficult to work out. If you have a car, you need car insurance. If you have a pet, you probably should have pet insurance. And it's working out where to go for that, how to get it in place, what it looks like going forward, the cost, all of that's entailed. And often, like, how much cover should I have? I think that's probably the biggest one. Yeah. So we'll start with travel and pet because that's like easy, the easier one to start with. So pet, example, we have got 2 cats. So my partner, we call it a blended family of our 2 cats. Obviously I've got my daughter, but there's, so we've got Muffin.
Oh yes.
yeah, we Muffin.
Funny, my partner calls me Muffin.
So Muffin is she's a white, green-eyed munchkin. So a munchkin cat's like, they've got short legs. Yeah. Super cute, brought her over from Perth. Aww. She is 12. Yeah. Very old, barely leaves the house. So we don't have insurance for Muffin because, one, she's very sickly and she's often ill, but she also doesn't really leave the house. If she was really unwell and needed surgery, I don't think her little body could handle it. Oh, yeah. Okay. However, we have got Ed Sheeran. He is the ginger cat. Yep. And if you've ever had a ginger cat or known one, they're very, they're super sweet. They're very smoochy. They're a little bit, we call him Special Ed sometimes. Yep. He's just super cute. But he gets out and about and he's a bit of a roamer. But so we've got insurance for him. But he was hit by a car, I want to say, last winter. Yep. Very foggy morning and he ran across the air. It was the most awful noise of him crying that I've ever had in my life. And anyway, we took him to the vet and it just went from A to Z, like it just went from A to Z, 0 to 100 very quickly. He needed surgery, round the clock care, a lot of drugs. He had like moon pie eyes. He was just, super high, keeping him good. And we used the pet insurance, but when I tell you that it didn't even cover a third of the costs. Yeah, so limits on what you're covered for are really important. So if you have a pet, usually most of us are cats, dogs. There's some random ones out there, but those are the main ones. They cost a lot to fix if something goes wrong with them, illness or accident-wise. So when you are evaluating whether you want to bring a pet into your home and buy one or whatever it is, pet insurance, I guess, from a pet owner and a responsible adult is included in the cost of having a pet in general. So pet insurance, all of their vet visits, that care, their food, and the purchase price of the pet should all be taken into account, and obviously long-term care that you can manage the care of that pet. Look at the limits. Some of them might only cover like $5,000 worth of care. That probably won't even get you through a surgery. So it might be 5, 10, 15. Just look at what it costs. I wouldn't recommend any certain provider. Jump online, do some research, have a look at 3 different providers is probably the way that you'll hear that a lot through this podcast. Compare the cost, the limits and what's included and decide what's best for you. I don't want to be judgy or tell anybody what to do, but I think if you can't afford it,
don't have a pet?
Should we have the pet? Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably a way that I would go. So that's pet insurance, and that's what it does. I guess, yeah, the tip there, make sure you know what you're covered for and that it will cover what you actually need it for. Mm-hmm. We kind of look back on it. My poor partner just sat down and was like, I cannot believe this. And I was like, well, emergency funds, that's what they're for.
Yeah.
And combination of both. And we can make that money back. We can't get us another Ed Sheeran. So we were happy. He's healthy now. He's moving about. He's probably a little bit anxious, but we've got him. So we're here. We'll move on from there. Travel insurance. So travel insurance essentially covers your travel. Overseas travel. I know you can do domestic. I'm probably not that big on saying to people to get that. You can if you want to, especially if it's a long trip. But I'm talking overseas travel, so covering your flights and all of your things. We were on another podcast with The Curve, and Sophie mentioned that she went travelling and they lost her bag. And there was only so much cover that she could get of getting new clothes.
Yeah, and I know that from my brother too, because he comes back from London a lot, and his bag got was stuck in New York or something, and he was in New Zealand, and they gave him $100 to get the clothes, for just, it was like a temporary thing until his bag got back.
It's like a t-shirt and pants for guys.
I was like,
for
what?
A woman, that's just like one thing.
Yeah, I literally took him to the warehouse, and I was like, so you can get one outfit, I don't know.
Then you want to get a 5-pack of undies.
Yeah.
It's
like, please get some undies too.
Absolutely. And for women as well, it should be more because you'll
just the bra is just for a cheap bra is $20.
Bras, yeah.
What are we supposed to do?
All of our toiletries.
Yeah.
Pads, that type of stuff. So I think you hear me talk about man tax sometimes where I'm like, cost more for us to live. But
exactly.
look at your limits on stuff. So if that's what the limit is, so I genuinely would go for a policy that's more in the thousands for that stuff. Because if I ever lost my bag, I overpack.
Me too.
Way overpack. I've got 2 bags, they're only little ones, just to come up here for a couple of days. So because we need options. Honestly, having options makes it harder to get dressed, I feel. But so look at the limits. And I think that's going to be the theme of this whole conversation is look at the limits check what you're paying for.
Yep.
If it's there, I will sometimes jump on somewhere like Webjet to look at different flight options or whatever. And it was like $100, maybe $120 to cover a trip for myself, my partner and my daughter, which was a 16-day trip, all of our luggage, and it had thousands of dollars in there included for the luggage
$100
loss.
did you say?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So for me, I was like, well, that's a no-brainer. And I just, we just got it. I was like, what's that on thousands of dollars worth of what we spent on that? Because we hadn't seen our families in years because of COVID. Yeah. So we'd been saving for so long to do that. So $100 on top of thousands just really just, and we claimed on it. So that made sense. But I just think whenever you're putting insurance in place, you've got to think about the worst case scenario, which I know sounds depressing, but with the worst case scenario, what would I do? And that's what you cover your stuff for.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of the travel insurance, is that not a recurring one like the other insurances? That's one that you get just when you travel?
Yeah, you get it as and when you go. Back in the day, I sound old. Sometimes there are policies we can get multi-trip policies, so you know that you're going to be travelling overseas. Must be nice if that's you.
Goals.
Must be nice. Where you're doing multiple trips in a 12-month period, you might better get a multi-policy that covers that.
So maybe if you're doing one of those cruises that are a few months long.
Yeah, and there's different countries involved or an away or whatever. Like my daughter and I, when she finishes school, we call ourselves the Māori Gilmore Girls.
I love that.
We've got a little TikTok that goes with it. But we're going to do our OE together when she finishes school. So there'll be multiple trips, going to different countries or all over Europe or whatever. So that's when you get a multi-year policy. So you pay possibly probably more than you would for that one trip. Yep. And you just put all the countries on and off you go.
Cool.
Yeah. But check limits, check the fine print. I know it's not fun, but it'll save you money in the long run.
And I did have a question in regards to health insurance. So if I'm, say, in another country and I needed medical help, how would the health insurance come into play with that, or would it be the travel insurance? How does that all work?
They'll work together.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So health insurance, generally, like all the covers that we discussed in the first kind of in-depth episode around life, living, health insurance, it's worldwide cover.
Right.
So when I say worldwide, if you take it with you, you can still, especially Australia, you'd still be able to get some form of treatment there.
Yep.
But generally, if we need to look after you, we'll just fly you home.
Okay.
We being insurance companies that I don't work for.
We'll do it.
Yeah. I'll be there like advocating and helping you with the claim and working through it. But generally, they'll work together. So travel insurance, there's a lot of people. So I have spent a lot of time in Bali. Used to live in Perth, so it was just a very quick trip. It was like New Zealand's Fiji. And a lot of people get stuck there, and the healthcare there is out the gate expensive. So you always have travel insurance, and that would cover the immediate medical expenses and bits and pieces. Where the health insurance comes in and all your other covers is getting a flight home, an emergency flight home, and health insurance being able to get you non-government funded medications, just stuff like that that's really going to help you in that time of need, because that's an emergency, right?
Yeah.
So it's a travel insurance side of things, and pet.
Right. What was the other one's? Car.
Yeah, so you were talking about car before, you know, when in other episodes around, you know, what if I hit somebody with a really expensive car?
Yes.
I don't know about you, but those people are real confident, like, that drive those fancy cars.
I don't know, always talk about that, like BMW drivers, they just drive like they own the road.
Range Rovers.
Yeah.
Okay, so my daughter goes, I drive a Honda. Her name's Rhonda. She's very sweet. She's very chill, nothing fancy. It's just a comfortable car for me, you know?
Yes.
When my daughter goes to private school, so there's a lot of people around there that there's some, I call them cayenne peppers, you know, with the Cheyenne, is that what they are? Range Rovers, one of my favourite cars, what's the Mercedes that looks like a bit of it's a square? What are they called?
I actually don't know, I'm not a car person.
Yeah. Anyway, you get to know them, but think they own the road, and like there's some small streets in Christchurch, so you'll be driving and they just go hundy through like they do not care. So I think these people obviously have insurance. But if you know, a car insurance is really important in the way of if you don't care about your car, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But you need to care about the liability of you hitting somebody else. So third party theft and fire. Yeah. Actually, you can get third party on its own, so that will cover the other person's repairs to their car. Or if it's a, you know, like a write-off, you pay their excess. And anyway, the insurance companies work it out. But basically, you're covered. Yeah. Your car, if it's written off, will not be covered. If it's stolen, not covered. If it's set on fire, which I don't know why it would, but if it's set on fire, then
a lot of crazy people out there these days.
I've got some stories. And then there's third-party theft and fire, which would cover you for theft and fire, and then the third party if you hit somebody else, or you know, you were liable for an accident or something. Comprehensive is obviously covers all of it, and that's ideally where we want to be. You'll pay an excess for any of these insurances. An excess, like health insurance, is a contribution to your claim on a policy. You will pay an excess for most insurances, not life, not income protection, none of that's not serious illness, but most, all of these general insurances, you'll pay some sort of contribution towards it.
Yeah. One thing I did kind of realise once I had actually had a little accident was when I was looking at my car insurance and my excess, is this normal, is $1,300, and I just thought, is it because I'm young and I don't have a full license yet? They keep on needing to do that. I need to do it. I haven't got my full license.
Do it before you get too many bad habits, I would say.
Yeah, that. Anyways, it was $1,300 and I crashed someone, and so my emergency fund at that point was $1,000, and I was like, well, like, what am I going to do? Like, I didn't have any money at that stage. And so I started creating a savings account for the excess for my car insurance. So if it happens, so now I have $1,300, like, if something happens, then my excess is kind of sorted. Is that like a high excess, or is that like normal? Or
so there's a couple of things in there. Yes, it's like that because of your age and your license situation. But you can actually go to your insurance company and talk to them about the excess and find a way around that. It doesn't have to be the standard.
Oh.
So you can talk to them about it. They might say, actually, we're only comfortable to cover you for this with this excess, and that's your contribution, and that's fine. But I would challenge you to one. And this is for all insurances, everybody, is to review how much you're covered for and get alternative quotes and policies every year or two.
Okay.
Just to check in. Unlike life insurance, you're not stuck with one company. Okay, you're not stuck with life insurance either, but your health determines that, whereas this stuff is not as affected.
Yeah.
So, and the differences in premiums, quality of cover and excesses will differ.
Yep.
But I would say speak to your insurance company and say, hey, is there a way I can bring this excess down? You might pay more in premiums.
And is that, that is what I think, is it that your excess kind of goes down, your premiums go up, and it's kind of like a seesaw?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's for everything that has an excess. Generally, the higher excess, the lower the premium. But you just have to make sure that you're able to pay the excess when you claim. So, like, I've got contents insurance with a low excess of like $250 because for me, I'm like, if I lost my phone, I don't want to pay $1,000 to get a $2,000 phone.
Just get another phone.
Yeah, and it covers all of my business equipment and everything as well. So I just check the excess and make sure you can find that. For my health insurance, it's $500 because I'm quite happy to pay that.
Yeah.
And generally, I don't have to pay it until after the surgery. So by then, it's fine. I just think for car insurance, especially. Yeah, when you're young, it is more expensive.
Yeah.
Go get your full license when you can, because that will help bring that down. These are some things that you can control.
Yeah.
If you've built an emergency fund for your excess, that's great, because to be fair, like if you go to your insurance company and say, how can I reduce my excess, your premiums are going to go up. So you might turn around and go, but I want you to find out.
Yeah.
What I would say is that knowledge is power here. So if they go, yep, but it'll cost you this much, you go, okay, would I prefer a $400 excess and pay, I don't know, $5 a week more in premiums? Or would I prefer to pay the $1,300 and just save that and leave that there, and then my premiums aren't as high, and that's your call.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Knowledge is power. We need to find the answers out.
Absolutely.
Before we make the decisions.
Yeah, and then I guess moving into contents and house insurance or house and contents. So a lot of people I heard in the flood had house insurance, but they didn't have contents, and it caused issues with when they claimed. It was like, we can rebuild the house or we can fix the house, but all your stuff's gone. There are so many examples I have of that. What I would say is, whether you own a home or not, have contents insurance if you've got things that would upset you if you lost them. I'm talking total loss. So if you're renting a house and you look around and you're like, my stuff's not worth that much. Okay, but how much would it cost you to replace it?
Yeah.
And that's how you work it out.
And that was exactly what I did after the floods, actually, because it was after hearing like all of the horror stories of other people going through those. And I actually looked around my room and stuff, and I was adding up the value of everything that I had, and I was like, at that point, and it was just like random things, and I was like, well, that's $1,000, that's a few $100s, and I was like, I didn't have like the cash to replace those things. Let's say, I don't know, like something happened in my room and everything just got ruined, and so I decided then to investigate it, and I decided that was the cost of getting contents insurance was something I was happy to pay for that peace of mind. Like if anything happened, then my stuff could be either replaced, or if they got stolen, or if they got damaged, then
and that's exactly what it's for. The way that I say to people to say what contents is just imagine picking the house up and turning it, and whatever falls out is what you need to cover. So I'm talking every cup, every spoon. Even if you go Kmarting and Facebook marketplacing, there's still a lot of time and money that goes into that and replacing stuff. And like, honestly, when I look at my wardrobe and the money that just chills in there, like I'm a bit, and you might be too young for this, but a bit Carrie Bradshaw. I like my money where I can see it.
Too young.
And it's in my wardrobe. Sex and the City. But that's a quote. And so I think also the cost of contents insurance.
Yep.
For like, I don't know, we've got a couple of $100,000 maybe 150, something like that. We've got, because there's 3 of us and we've collated a lot of stuff.
I was talking to my friend and
old.
he said that too, and he was like, oh, I'm covered for 200 grand. I was like, 200 grand? Like, mine's like, because I added up everything and there's like $15,000, and I was like, wow, that's so much money. And then I talked to him and he was like, 200 grand. And I was like, what?
Yeah, and that's the thing though, like we've got a 4-bedroom house, there's an office, there's all my daughter's stuff. Like, you collect a lot of crap as you get older. So you just like, sometimes the difference between paying for 100 and 200 is so little in premium that you're just like, I'd just rather have what I need, and because you're constantly adding to things. And it's buying stuff new. Yeah. So if I've had stuff for like, I'm embarrassed to say, maybe 15 years. Yep. And then you've got to replace all that stuff again. Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, 30, 40 grand's worth of cover for someone who is just starting out in life and has a, in probably mid-20s or whatever, that might be enough. Yeah. For you, 10 to 15K might be enough. It just depends on the person. But there are online calculators that can help you calculate. I know of a few. I don't want to like call out any insurance companies or banks here. So if you do want links or whatever, or want to know, 1, you can Google it, or 2, just hit me up. But there are online calculators. And I would say the same for home insurance as well. So you cannot get a home loan without getting home insurance. I would say don't just do it for the bank, do it because you want to protect your asset. Yep. Get good insurance and know what your excess is and know what you're covered for. Calculate how much it's going to cost you to rebuild that home and a total loss. Yep. So fire, and this is coming from a person who lives in Christchurch and sees a lot of, like, we're still suffering from the earthquakes, right? I wasn't there for them, so I don't want to be in that kind of bucket of thinking I'm a part of it. But I still see the aftermath of it. Yeah. So online calculators are your friend to find out exactly what you need to insure yourself for, and do not set it and forget it. Check it. Yep. Every year, check it and make sure, because inflation is out the gate from last year, 7.2%, I think, last time I looked at an insurance policy. How much would it cost for us to rebuild something as opposed to 2020? So different. Yeah. So that's what I would say is making sure you calculate things, know what your excess is. If you've got all of these if you can have all of these things with one provider and they're good policies, highly recommend. Imagine going to 3 different providers for the flood to claim on your house, contents and car and dealing with 3 insurance. Well, you don't even want to deal with 1 and you've got to deal with 3.
I'm just thinking about that because I think my health insurance, my contents insurance, and my car, we're at 3 different places. Yeah, so contents car might be a good idea just to see what they could be for you together. Yep. Health and life insurance stuff will always be separate from those because you want specialist companies. Oh, okay. Not always, but generally. What I would say is, if you have them together, you'll get a combined policy discount as well, so it might be cheaper. Yep. But it just means you're dealing with one provider, which just would make life a bit easier at claim time. And I think whenever we put insurance in place, we need to put it in place with the position of what happens at claim time and what position will I be in then, not how much is it going to cost me every week or fortnight as a single situation. But those would be, I guess, my tips overall. Yeah. If you have house insurance but you don't have contents and you own a home, can you just please go get some? I've heard too many stories. It is relatively affordable, but if it's not for you, I do understand that. I don't want to be judgmental, but if you can, just go get a little bit just to start with. But in general, for all of these covers, know what you're covered for. Use calculators, online calculators. Go direct to insurance companies and get different quotes. There are brokers out there. We don't do it, and part of the reason we don't is, one, we just find that our clients can find really good pricing when they go direct. Yeah. So why would we get involved? If it's going to cost them more, and it's just the opposite with life insurance. So go direct, get a few different quotes, check the policies, know what your excess is. And I guess when your renewal letters come and the insurance has gone up and the cost has gone up and you have a bit of a grumble, just sit down and check the limits just to make sure it's okay. That's probably the bulk of it. Awesome. I would say, yeah. Awesome. thank you, Rochelle, for sharing all of these tips. And I'm definitely going to be doing my little check-in with all of the different companies to check the prices. And I think I'm actually going to have a Word document, and I think it'll be like landscape, and I'll put them in and then see which ones cost how much and what they cover and all of these things, so that I can work that out, because knowledge is power, as you said.
Yep.
But thank you again to R&P Insurance for powering these episodes, and we'll see you in the next episode.